Greetings, beauties all over the world. So many of you know that I'm busy doing renovations, and I've been flat out, as I am always, but a good busy. And so anyway, renovations can do a lot of things, and you find a lot of things. Well, I've been painting down in my workshop, and I had to paint inside my cabinet with all my spellcraft and tools and things, and I found some old diaries. And so many of you know that I've lived a pretty wild ride, and I'm obviously still going, and I have a lot of stories. And what many of you don't know is my life before the Eyes of the Scarlet Rose part of my life. So for those of you that, I know the majority of you know, but for those of you that don't know, Eyes of the Scarlet Rose is the first book I wrote, and I'm going to talk about my life before that part. And Eyes of the Scarlet Rose, it is it's a scandalous book. It's a book based on true events and true people, and it's fictionalized, and yeah, a lot of you I know have read it. You can, I'm small plugging it, you can buy it on Amazon, and or if you want a really pretty version of it, I have published it myself, printed it myself. It's a paperback, and I've gold foiled embossed the writing. So if you want a signed copy and a nice copy of the book, go to my website at alluin.com for a juicy read. Scandalous. It's another part of the conglomerate of my life, and there's a lot of swearing in it, so I apologize for that firsthand. Anyway, so I want to talk about, though, before Eyes of the Scarlet Rose, my life when I lived in Hollywood. And I have found a diary. I've kept a diary for a long time, but this diary is full of, I will have to burn this one day. But when I first moved to Los Angeles from Australia many years ago, I was a poor nanny. And I had worked as a nanny, obviously, in Australia for a little bit. But when I went to Los Angeles, you kind of have to start from scratch. And as any domestic worker in that country knows, particularly Los Angeles and California, it's difficult to get good jobs. It's very competitive. And who wants a worker from another country when there are 10,000 of them that you don't have to pay for, like visas and support in that department, because immigration in America, or at least in California, it was a nightmare for me. So anyway, I have some stories that I want to share with you guys about my life before you know, things got really good, and when my life took a turn for the better. So, and I had to leave LA for that to happen. So when I first arrived in LA, I went to a job, and I had organized all of that beforehand, but I was a poor nanny. And as in, you know, I didn't have money, and I completely depended on the people I was working for everything. And that's not a nice way to be, but that's how I was. And so I had many jobs, you know, some were good, some were not so good. I'm gonna dish on the not so good ones. I feel like domestic workers in general are so underestimated. This is not just about nanny jobs. This is a few experiences I've had. I will call the Hollywood Diaries. But obviously my nanny work encompassed a lot of those, and I met a lot of very famous, wealthy people that are very well known. And for my own sake and protection, I will not mention their real names because I cannot honestly remember who I had to sign confidentiality agreements for and who I didn't. It was so long ago that I can't remember who I had to sign an NDA for and who I didn't. Non-disclosure agreement. Yeah, look, I was young. I had the whole world in front of me. I was poor, but I didn't care. I was in Los Angeles. I was in California. It was a wild time to be there. And I bought my first car there. The axle was bent. I paid $500 cash for it. It was, I talk about it in Eyes of the Scarlet Rose. It was exactly, that was a true depiction of my first car. It was a Colt. I can't remember if it was a Mitsubishi or it was a Colt. Anyway, and the axle was bent and I had hell with that car. And I'm lucky because it really did get me from A to B. That was my lifesaver, that car. And I had a few hairy moments with other people. Oh my gosh. So I think it was like La Cienega and Melrose. Was it Melrose? Near the Grove. Some car went straight through a red light and it was green, obviously my way. It was so close, and I think I actually went on two wheels off this poor Colt because I swerved so hard not to hit this car, because I would have hit it if I didn't swerve, or he would have hit me. Yeah, it was just so wild and it happened so quick, and I had to pull over after that, and someone come up to me after and was like, oh my God, are you okay? I just saw that. It was like James Bond. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what just happened? So silly me. My battery just died on my camera, so I've had to come to my laptop now to record the rest of this. So sorry about the quality, and I know it's nighttime, but oh well, this is gonna have to do. So anyway, so I had a few hairy moments with my little Colt, but that car saved my life, and I can't remember, I definitely didn't have insurance with it. It was barely legal. I don't even think it was drivable, because I think if I was pulled over by the cops, for sure they would have towed the car. But I bought it from some guy that had come from East LA, and this Hispanic guy, I remember, he's just like, yeah, I'll take 500 cash, no problem. I'm like, okay. Okay, so I want to talk about the first experience, and so I'm going to do a couple of successive videos because I think it'll be too long if I just do it in one big video. So the first one I'm going to talk about is about Tupac, and this is definitely not clickbait. I'm not a clickbaiter, but this happened to me, and this was one of those moments where you just, I mean, this is how the universe works. Really strange, really surreal, really out of control. So when I had my first job in Los Angeles, I worked in Los Feliz, which is a little bit east. It's right on the fringe of Hollywood. And I used to go and work out and take the kids I used to look after to the Hollywood YMCA. And the Hollywood YMCA, it's not like this boys YMCA club. It's a kind of cool place to be. It's got great workout facilities. It's got a basketball court, indoor. I can't remember if it's got one outdoor. But anyway, it was a great place. And I used to go and work out there because the lady I worked for, she had a membership and I didn't have to pay. So I could go and work out there and I didn't have to pay anything. I think they had a swimming pool. I can't remember. But I used to go there, and a lot of good things happened to me at this YMCA. I absolutely fell in love with a guy that I met at the YMCA. He was an ex-basketball player. He was like 6'6". He was huge. He was so tall, and just so handsome, so beautiful. And he would go there. He was going there with his son, and I was working out, and the ball kind of rolled over in my direction because I was near the basketball court. and he just struck up a conversation, and that's how it kind of all started. And we were both mad for each other, and he actually drove up from South Central LA, so he lived in Crenshaw. I'll get into that, but yeah, so he was a fantastic thing that happened to me, and I was mad for him, and I will always have love for him. And you would find I would be down there. I'd be down at South Central. I'd be in Compton. I'd be at Louisiana Fried Chicken in Compton. So if you're looking for your girl Andulairah, you would find me at Louisiana Fried Chicken down at Compton. I was mad for Louisiana Fried Chicken. So I would be at Compton. Imagine this white girl going into one of the hardest hoods in Los Angeles, like a black neighborhood, and it was just madness for a white girl to be going down to this area. And I'm obviously not racially discriminating, but if you live in LA, you know that it's the hood, and it's hard, and you just don't go to these places at night or alone unless you know someone. And I did. So I'd spent a lot of time down on Crenshaw Boulevard, Inglewood. I was there. And so anyway, we were mad for each other. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. He was a significant part of my life there. But what happened one day when I was actually going, I may have spoken about this before, I can't remember, but as I was going to the YMCA, I was walking on Selma Avenue. It's a busy intersection, and that was back in the day. So this is back in the day when we had the CD Discman, like when you put the CD in the player, and so I would listen to that when I was working out. That was my jam, and that's what everyone did because we didn't have MP3 or digital music back then that you could just download. We wouldn't even have known what the hell that was back then. So anyway, I'm on Selma Avenue, and I'm about to pay the valet parking guys, and I dropped the Discman. So I'm fumbling with money, and I dropped the Discman and the CD, which at that time I was listening to Tupac, All Eyes on Me. And as a teenager growing up, me and my friends, we just loved Tupac. It was our era. It was our time. That was before the whole mass saturation of that genre. It was, really, we loved Tupac. How could you not love Tupac? We loved Tupac. And me, I was a young beat maker at the time. And I'll get into this because I started working with some people. And I'm going to share with you at the end of the video something I feel like it would be a great idea. Anyway, I'll get to that after. But so the CD rolls out on the curb. Imagine. Now, this is the timing. The CD rolls out onto the curb, and as the CD is kind of shining from the sun, the front of it is sitting up. And so you can see that it says Tupac, and it's got Pac's picture and All Eyes on Me. This big black SUV pulls up with the tint windows and everything, pulls up at the intersection. They wind down the window and they see me on the corner about to pick up this CD. And one guy just calls out, he's like, hey, you. And I'm like, me? He's like, yeah, you, mama. He's like, come here. And then one of them sees the CD. He's like, what? He's like, what? You banging Pac? You banging Pac, mama? Like, what? Yeah, that's my CD. He's like, what? No way. You white girl? You banging Pac? She's banging Pac. So this guy that sees the CD, he can't believe that I'm listening to Tupac. He just finds it just so crazy. He's like, we're Pac, we're the Outlaws. And so they hold up their arms and they've got this tattoo that says Outlaws. And Outlaws, or the Outlaws, which is spelled with a Z at the end, was the group that Pac formed. And so these guys knew Tupac, and they were with Tupac. They were like brothers. And they're all holding up, their arms with this tattoo that was written vertically down their arms. I'm just like, oh my God. This is the weirdest, strangest, most surreal, awesome experience. I just couldn't believe it, that timing of the disc rolling out and then them rolling up. It was just surreal. It was surreal. This is what I mean. This is how the universe works, as crazy as it was. Anyway, we exchanged numbers, and a couple nights later, we decided to meet, and we were going to go to Tupac's house. And so when I finished work a couple nights later, I drove my little Colt car. I drove up to Universal City, and then we all drove up to Calabasas, to Tupac's house. And it was just the most incredible experience. And we were talking all night, and they told me, how they smoked his ashes. They smoked Tupac's ashes. Obviously in a blunt or something. But, all these conspiracies about Tupac still being alive and, all that kind of circulating, they said that's just no way. They're like, no, we smoked his ashes. So I knew then that any kind of conspiracy about Pac still being alive was just rubbish. It was them. Those guys were like the original Outlaws. So that was a big deal to me. That was just so amazing. And we kept in touch on and off for the next couple of years. But I mean, I went to New York and then I came back, and you just lose touch. And anyway, and we were, making music together, because at the time I was just a bit of a young little beat maker. And, it was good for that time. It was good music for that time. Because you didn't have all the software and everything that you've got now. So that was my first Hollywood Diaries story that I wanted to share. So the idea that I had, and I thought would be really interesting, was that I'm not sure if there's any rappers or any person along that line that would be interested in this, but I thought this was such a kind of funny, cool idea. Was I'm going to upload some of the original beats that I made, and I thought it would be fun if any of you rap or anything. I give you total permission to download the song, do some rap lyrics to the song, or sing to the song, or whatever, and see what you come up with, and then record it. And I want to hear it. I want to hear your version of it. It would be so funny just to hear somebody else's, kind of version of it, or, hear someone rapping on it. Because I have so many beats, so many tracks that just, we did nothing with. So that's kind of my first Hollywood Diaries story. Tupac. That was my experience with meeting people that were Pac's family. So that was unreal.